A compost is a fantastic resource to have on hand. Not only is it a great conditioner for your soil, but it's a fantastic way to upcycle your garden waste and any of your kitchen scraps. Now, of course, nature has been composting for millennia. Just have a look at any forest floor, you'll see it covered in leaves. But as you dig down through those leaves, it becomes less and less recognisable till you end up with a lovely crumbly back material called humus, which is just the lifeblood of any soil. The compost can be spread on the surface of the soil to act as a mulch. This will suppress the weeds, it will keep the moisture in, and it will help to protect the soil from the damaging effects of the weather like wind, rain and sun. Now, compost is a rich source of wildlife. It provides a habitat for a whole range of mini beasts like spiders, woodlice and worms. The most hard-working individuals are those you can't even see. Billions and billions of microscopic bacteria. This little handful is absolutely teeming with life. Now, the most important thing to remember when you're composting is the ratio of materials that you mix. It's 1 part of green material, which is very high in nitrogen and has a high water content, to 3 parts of the brown materials. These are your shredded papers, egg boxes, leaves and twiggy prunings. So now we've got a good stockpile of materials here, but we need to do a bit more work on this heap because it's going to take forever to break down in this state. We need to really chop this into as smaller pieces as we can so that the composting action can get started. Now, a garden shredder is ideal for this job, but if you haven't got a shredder, there is an alternative. Well, there you are. Your ordinary garden mower can be a great mulcher. Now let's see the results. Look at that, it's perfect. Now, if you don't have a shredder or a mower, then just use a pair of secateurs to chop up your woody material. It is quite a laborious task, but it really is worthwhile taking the time to do this, as the smaller the pieces are in your compost, the quicker they'll decompose. So now we've got all our materials, we can actually get on with making the compost. Now, if you've got space in your garden, something like this 3-bay system is ideal. So you've got all the materials here that we've gathered. The second bay is all the shredded material, and in the third one is the final compost that can be used on the garden. So here at Heronswood, we've got these compost bins here. They're large bays and they're permanent features. They're ideal for storing your materials and then turning them into the next one as the compost progresses. Now, of course, if you haven't got room at your place for big bays like this, there are alternatives. Now, in your garden at home, if you haven't got the room to construct those permanent compost bays, then just get yourself one of these compost bins. They work perfectly well. Now, as long as you remember the golden rule of 1 part green material to 3 parts brown material, and you layer it in that ratio, then the whole thing will rot down, and you can just open this little door at the bottom here and you can harvest out the ready to use materials. Meanwhile, the stuff in the top is composting and gradually rotting, and you can just keep adding and adding to that. So you only really need 1 bin if that's all you've got the space for. Now, you don't have to build yourself the big wooden bays or even go out and buy those plastic compost bins. You can just have a look around your garden and recycle some of your materials. We've just got 4 wooden stakes here and a bit of this plastic meshing. You can just load in your shredded materials and your compost will work beautifully there. Now, if you're gardening on a balcony or in a courtyard garden and you don't have the space for a compost bin, then you might like to get yourself a worm farm. They're a really fantastic way of using up your kitchen scraps and ending up with some fantastic materials to be able to use in your pots and your containers. Now they're a really nice, tidy unit here, nice and compact. And you can see you just add your kitchen scraps onto the top of that in a single layer, and the worms eventually digest that and break it down, and you end up with a lovely material called worm castings that you can use to top dress your pots or to sow your seeds into. And the added bonus of this into the second tray drops the worm juice, and you can harvest that from the tap on the end, and it's a fantastic tonic to water your plants with. So you've got your balanced mix of your brown and green materials, and the next most important ingredients in a compost heap are air and water. Composting is an aerobic process, which means that the bacteria need oxygen in order to work efficiently. A compost heap often runs out of air before it runs out of materials. And the best way to get air into your compost heap is simply by turning it. So how do you know if your compost is ready? Well, it's easy. You just have a look. If it's nice, black, crumbly material that you can't really see what the original ingredients were, then it's probably well on its way. And also just give it a smell. It should just smell nice and fresh, like a forest floor. That way you know it's ready to use. Now if yours hasn't quite broken down as much as that, so you can still see some of the twiggy bits and some of the other materials in there, then that's fine. It just means you need to leave it to rot down for a little bit longer. To check the water content of your compost, just grab a handful and give it a squeeze. If a couple of drops of moisture come out, then that's fine. So hopefully now you're inspired to look at your garden waste and your kitchen scraps in a whole new light and upcycle them into a fantastic resource for your garden. If you only remember one thing, remember the ratios of 1 part green material to 3 parts brown, and eventually you'll end up with a beautiful compost that you can use on your garden.